It is my honor and privilege to introduce to you our distinguished chief guest for this momentous occasion. He has had an excellent career in electrical engineering, particularly in the university engineering education. Having achieved a coveted position of Professor of Electrical Engineering and the head of the department at University of Moratuwa at a relatively young age of 32 years, Professor Karunaratne held this position for 33 years. He has been a teacher of over 600 electrical engineers who hold high positions in Sri Lanka and abroad. He had been personally involved in institution building and established the electrical engineering laboratories of University of Peradeniya, University of Moratuwa, Kothalawala Defence Academy, Open University of Sri Lanka, and the TTI Katnayaka, and of course at SLIIT. He was the pioneer in the digital computer applications in the country, being the manager of the first ever digital computer system in Sri Lanka at the SLIIT Engineering Corporation. He had developed several computer application systems such as MIS, econometric modeling, and analysis of the Sri Lanka national economy for the Ministry of National Planning, civil and electrical engineering designs, and analysis such as applications that were a novelty during 1967-68, that is nearly 5 decades ago. He has published several papers on electrical power systems, load flow, stability and sensitivity analysis, and many other areas. He is the author of 3 equations for teaching of the load flow problem, the stability problem, and the voltage distribution along high voltage insulator strings. He is also the author of the first book written in Sri Lanka on digital computer programming in 1968 to teach the Fortran language. He had held significant positions in the university, being a professor, head of department, dean of the faculty, and vice chancellor of the university. He had been in the boards of management of many national institutions such as University of Ceylon, University of Moratuwa, University of Colombo, Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, Postgraduate Institute of Management, NERD Center, Naresa, National Academy of Sciences, Sri Lanka, ISL, and Center for Space Science and Technology Education, and a board member and the chairman of Arthur C. Clarke Institute. He had been a member of the CBCD, which is called the Committee of Vice Chancellors and Directors. He is much involved in engineering professions, and he has been elected as the president of the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka in 1992-93 session. The University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka awarded him the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa and accorded him the title Professor Emeritus in recognition of his services. The Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka, the ISL, decorated him with the title Eminence in Engineering. He was awarded the ICT Lifetime Achiever Award by the ICT Agency and the British Computer Society. He held positions of the chairman of the SLIIT from its inspection to 2014. Let us warmly welcome our distinguished chief guest, Professor Samarajeewa Karunaratne, to this event. I now invite Professor Karunaratne to deliver the convocation address.
Chancellor and Chairman, Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Pro-Chancellors, Deans and Directors, Heads of Departments, academic and non-academic staff, distinguished invitees, the new graduates, parents, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor for inviting me to grace this occasion. The convocation is the most significant event in a student's life. I still fondly remember the convocation I attended 63 years ago when I received the degree of engineering. I consider it my privilege to address the students and parents at the convocation ceremony. I have delivered many convocation addresses over the last few years. I also have looked up the internet as a guide to deliver how to deliver the convocation address. There were two convocation addresses which attracted my attention. They were delivered by two famous personalities, namely Steve Jobs, the founder of Macintosh Apple Computer, and J.K. Rowling, who writes the famous Harry Potter series. They were included in the best 10 convocation addresses delivered. Both these had a common theme. That is how each of them came from rags to riches. These were delivered at Stanford and Harvard universities. They were the best convocation addresses, and they talked about their rags to riches story. After careful thought, I decided that such a theme is quite inappropriate for me, as I have neither riches nor rags in my life to talk about. Then I decided on a more inclusive topic for my convocation address. The topic of my address is success. Success is an inclusive topic, as almost all of us have achieved success sometime or other. To be successful, it is necessary for one to set achievable goals which ensure success. When a person sets an achievable goal and when he is successful, he can raise the bar. That means set a higher achievable goal, and this process can continue until he reaches the formidable goal that he wants to. Let us take an example. If an undergraduate sets as an initial goal to become the Vice Chancellor of the university, it is quite unlikely that he can achieve it. But if he were to set a goal to become a lecturer, which is likely, and on reaching that sets a goal to become a professor and then to become the Vice Chancellor, he is more likely to succeed. That is success in steps or stages. Success, some believe, is a process without obstacles or impediments. This may be in rare instances, that is for those who are born with the silver spoon in the mouth. In most cases, success is accompanied with many failures. We all know our national leaders who fought for our independence of this country. They were jailed and they suffered in jail. But ultimately they became prime ministers, ministers, and important people in this country. This is true of our neighbors. India, for instance. Nehru, though is a colorful figure in history, had to suffer in jail sometime in his life. Nelson Mandela spent over 25 years in jail before achieving success. Life is difficult and complicated and more than you can imagine. I have cited these examples to prove the point that success is not devoid of failure. On our way to success, many of us encounter failure. Then we have to make an effort and strive to be successful. In Buddhism, there is much emphasis on samma vayama as an essential ingredient for success, that is, the right effort. When we look at well-known figures in history, for example, Abraham Lincoln, Jimmy Carter, and Barack Obama, three well-known presidents of the US, they have made unprecedented effort to reach success. And for ordinary folks like us, success can be achieved by setting realizable goals and making right effort and striving when confronted with failure. Convocation is a ceremony of the graduates and their parents. In fact, they'll be more interested in rejoicing in their success, taking photographs of their own and with their families, friends, and so on as mementos. These will be their prized possessions for lifetime. Listening to a convocation address is not so much the highlight of the day, but as a tradition of the university, someone has to deliver the convocation address. Let me continue this brief address by quoting from two unknown persons who had written poems on success. These two important personalities, they are important for me in my life because they are my family members. In fact, my father and my brother, and my father's brother. They wrote some stanzas, some poetry on success, and they were published in a newspaper called Sarasavi Sandarasa in the 1920s. The title was Success, and the poem goes like this. The road of success rugged lies, rocks of failure stand crosswise. The dauntless manly pilgrims wise trips on the rocks, but yet they rise. That every fall is a step for goal, they know and tread the path withal. Again they breathless, groaning fall, again they rise and reach the goal. I hope you understood the text of these poems. Now this was translated, and the translation goes like this. I am no good in reading poetry, but I will try what I can. Now the success, meaning artha siddhiya. The stanzas go like this. Diyunu magehi gal mul noeka pihitiya තියුණු නැති බිය සුන්දන යන තුටිය අයුණු බලව ගල් මුල්වල වැටි වැටිය දියුණු මගම යති යලි නැගිට නැගිටිය අදහස මුදුන් පමුණන රහසකි වැටුම යන බස දැනෙන දැඩි සිත ඇති දන වහම නොබලස ඉදිරියට ගොස් මග වැටි වැටිව අදහස කෙලෙස මුත් ඉටු කර ගනිති තම. That's an exact translation of the two stanzas that I read earlier. And you will see that success is not devoid of trouble, you see. These two poems accurately reflect the idea that I want to convey to you. Success is within reach of all of you. Be dedicated, determined, and be passionate. I insist, or I stress on the word passionate, in whatever you do, and then you are assured of success. I quote from Mother Teresa thus, everyone can rise above their circumstances and achieve success if they are dedicated to and passionate about what they do. This is what Mother Teresa said. Before I leave this stage, let me narrate an anecdote, perhaps in lighter vein. Once I attended a seminar given by the CEO of a well-known IT company. It was a PowerPoint presentation. I noticed that in every slide, there was a picture of a passion fruit on the right-hand side top corner of the slide. I was rather curious, and at the end of the seminar, I asked the presenter, what is the special significance of the passion fruit on every slide? He said, sir, if there is no passion, there is no success. That passion fruit is a gentle reminder to guide me, he said. So you see how important passion is. May not be the passion fruit, right? This statement, though it is amusing, exemplifies the importance of passion for achieving success, and I wish all of you remember this. Now let me tell you a little bit more about the passion and the determination of the people who lived long time ago. There was a philosopher by the name of Eratosthenes, a Greek philosopher who lived about 245, 250 years BC. He wanted to find out the circumference of the earth. He didn't have at that time the kind of things that the knowledge and the implements and the instruments that we have now, but he was determined and he was passionate about determining the circumference of the earth. So what did he do? He took a long pole and planted it in a town called Alexandria. That is presently in Egypt, but it was part of the Greek Empire at that time. Then he took the same stick to Cyrene, presently near the Aswan Dam, and he planted it there. And he found that in Alexandria, there was no shadow for the pole, but in Cyrene, in Aswan, there was a shadow. Then he, of course, thought the sun is far away and the rays that come to the earth must be parallel for those distances. And he knew, of course, Euclid had given his theorems and so on a little bit before, so he knew that he could measure the shadow and the height of the pole and determine what is tan theta or sine theta. Right? And then he found that the distance from Alexandria to Cyrene was 250 miles or so, and by this stick and the shadow, he found that the angle was 3.6 degrees. Really 1/100th of a full circle. 3.6, you all know that 360 degrees is a full circle. Oh, then he thought 250 miles, 2,500, 25,000 miles is the circumference of the earth. Actually, he got a bit less, about 23,000, because he didn't know what a mile was. He did it in stadia. There was no measure of miles at that time. But he came to the conclusion that it is near 25,000 miles with one pole. And of course, now to determine the distance from Alexandria to Cyrene, he could not walk all that distance. He had a set of walkers, right? But they were trained to walk with exactly the same stride. There were no variation in stride. They were trained people, and then a group of them did that and found these 250 miles. And when a person is determined and passionate without even much implements, instruments, and theory, they can achieve success. So that's what I want to say. This story is just to highlight the necessity of determination and passion to reach success. Now that you have graduated, you have achieved some success. What is success? A degree from this famous institute, the SLIIT, which have been built with passion and determination. Finally, I wish you more and continued success in your future. Thank you very much.